Welcome to the Two Act Podcast. I'm Gothjon. Who else am I speaking with?
I am Adi.
Hi, Adi. So I got a brief synopsis for another that I wrote myself. A new transfer student, Koichi, joins a class, and his entire class is acting like a girl with an eye patch doesn't exist. Is this girl an evil spirit? We will soon find out. Well, Adi, what did you think of another?
Another is it's fascinating anime. I think if I had to describe it, it would probably be a promising mystery dressed up as a bad horror anime that cranks up the badness until it becomes a comedic parody.
Awesome. Spoilers for another. Did you watch the dub or the sub?
Both. I gave both a shot.
Oh, you
Yeah, I
gave
gave
both
both
a
a shot.
shot.
Yeah, I
Brave
kind of
man.
alternated.
Okay.
Just because I was curious I wanted to like
See
understand what
acting was
the
like.
yeah, what did I prefer? I preferred the sub in the end, but
Okay.
yeah.
I think I've watched both. The second time I watched the dub, I was noticing a lot of voices that are very mainstays in the dub anime community. So Monica Rial does the Eyepatch girl, and
Oh man,
yep, she does May, and she's Bulma in Dragon Ball Z. She's my waifu, Stock and Anarchy and Panty and Stocking, and she's all over the dub scene for Funimation. And
hmm
I think Greg Ayres does the MC, and he does a lot of stuff too.
all right. That's interesting because I found the dub voice for the main character. I think his name's
Yep, Koichi.
Koichi Kibara.
Good enough
Saka
for me.
Let's just say his name's Koichi. But yeah,
Yep.
he had a really prepubescent sounding voice.
Yeah,
So
he's like a nerdy voice. You
yeah,
typically hear in a lot of anime, or just like
it
a
was
kid with
it was
glasses.
very one note though. Like he
Right.
managed to keep it
Oh yeah.
like
No, that's
throughout.
that's one of his three character voices, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, going into it, did you think at first that the eye patch girl was a ghost?
Well, they certainly set it up that way, which was interesting. The
Right.
first three episodes kind of used a lot of suspense, which I
Mm-hmm.
liked.
Mm-hmm.
It gave this really creepy vibe right from the get go, and I was down for the ride. I was interested to see what they're gonna do and how they're because there's no breathing point. It's just like you're drawn in straight into it. The main character is plunged into this mystery surrounding everything's a mystery. Him waking up in the hospital is a bit of a mystery. But yeah, I think the main character, Misaki, it's just quite obvious, like the way they were pretending like she doesn't exist. I was like, what are they going to do here? Are they going to pull a Sixth Sense? And I was kind of like, I hope they don't drag. I hope I hope I don't need to see like 11 episodes of this playing out,
And
and
you
then
find out she's dead the whole time.
yeah. But no, surprisingly, she wasn't, and I was kind of relieved at that point. But that's also where I think a lot of my opinions on the show changed
Okay.
once that reveal is done. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, she's the creepy eye patch girl in the elevator. One that the frames that introduce her, it's very similar to like a scene in Evangelion where they're going up and down the elevator, where they're all. It's I think in like the original like 4x3, it holds all three characters like in the frame, and obviously that's what they're going for. And a lot of like the music on the roof, that whole scene, like I was just listening to that, and it was very atmospheric and eerie. I really enjoyed it. Even the thunder sounded real. for a second there, I had to take out my headphones and make sure like there wasn't actually thunder going on outside. Maybe I just had it turned up too loud, but I don't know. What did you think about the music, Adi?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the soundtrack was probably the best thing it had in terms of creating atmosphere and this sort of eerie uh, tone to the whole anime. I think that probably is the only consistent thing about it.
Okay.
So if I had to if I had to give it that, I would say the soundtrack doesn't disappoint. It remains consistent and gives you that package of building up the tension and creating atmosphere, which works a lot well in the first 3 episodes than it does for the latter. But yeah, no, I thought it was pretty
Cram
good.
it all in.
Yeah,
You only got 12 episodes. They got a budget.
yeah. It is. I mean, there's some incoherent stuff that takes place, which is pretty weird to talk about. But I think the death that occurs, the first death, I think it's in episode 3 or 4.
Mhm.
I thought that was like the most contrived, ridiculous deaths I've ever seen.
It was straight out of the. You ever watched the 2006 The Omen? It kind of reminded me of that. Like she like lands on the tip of an umbrella. Like what?
I mean, so just for reference sake, anyone that's listening, it's basically a girl who's creeped the fuck out by the main character and May's character, who's supposedly non-existent. And she gets the creeps and she starts running from the stairs with an umbrella, and then she trips and then she gets impaled by her own umbrella through the neck, and that's how she dies. I just thought like this is so fucking ridiculous, because at that point I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? Because that is I've never seen.
What the fuck did you show me, John? Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, I've never fucking seen someone die because of an umbrella. Like, I've always had kind of like, not PTSD, but I always felt kind of icky about umbrellas poking you in the eye, because that can happen. But right. I'd never in my wildest fucking imaginative mind ever thought that I could get impaled by an umbrella. That's just that was just bizarre.
Yeah.
When that happened, I was like, what am I watching?
Yep. Yeah, there's like a spoiler for the for Eyepatch eye. So in a lot of animes, they'll have like a contact in, or there'll be a big Chinibu, and they'll reveal that it's their mystical power eye that doesn't actually do anything. But in this show, it's a damn doll eye, and it helps her like see when somebody's gonna die, which is kind of convenient and a really plot contrived that she doesn't like do more to stop people from dying.
Yeah, I just think it's absurd that she she just sits tight until the very end, where she's like,
a lot of times where she could have saved a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
especially.
I mean, the whole thing could have been mitigated a lot better by just filling in the main character, who's a new student, and just telling him what the whole deal is. That there's a curse that exists that takes place specifically in this class, and the whole setup is apparently there was a class student who died many years ago, and they basically they pretended like she never died, and it created this curse where there is always, well, that is the main
extra classmate in the classroom, and
Yeah.
They like wipe the records. They make it so you can't figure out who the extra student is, and the entire goal of the year is to find out who that student is. And later in the anime, they find out what happened the previous year, or a previous year, that they stopped all the deaths from happening.
Yeah.
And then there's like a whole freaking tape recording of it.
Well, yeah, that's towards the end, but just in terms of like even before the tape recording, it was kind of annoying to see why the whole class was being so secretive,
right?
And
nervous.
they were just not keeping the main character filled in, and it's I mean, they avoid telling him the story, which is obviously going to make him more curious and make him more nosy, because he'd want to know what's going on. And the more he prods, the more shit happens, the more deaths occur.
The second death on the elevator.
Come on, that's just...
So I think everybody
Final Destination, that's what it is.
Yeah, everybody has like a rationale of when you get in an elevator and you either feel like it's rickety or it's old, and you kind of get a little nervous. I'm pretty sure everybody has that feeling. But the nurse that gets in the elevator, I was really rooting for. Now, it's been a long time since I've watched this, so I don't remember who dies. It really made me feel like, ooh, the curse is real, and it's not just some coincidence that a lady like tripped on the stairs and fell on an umbrella. And if not for his pure ineptitude, I think Koichi would have been dead a long time ago. Early on, he has a brush with death even much more. You find out he had a collapsed lung. That's why he was in the hospital before he joined the class.
Yeah, that's never really explained, though, is it?
No, not really, other than that they just like say it like off. Like
I think
aside.
that was kind of one of my main gripes with the curse being a bit too vague at times. Like, I get the concept is interesting for the curse, but its origins and methods are never really fully explained in terms of how it works. And I think like we don't know why it only affects certain years of class 3, and what's still keeping it active, and how it alters the memories of the class is still, and not just the class, but also the relative members and the families of these these class students is still unknown. Like, they didn't really touch upon how that works, and I think it makes it a bit vague to fully understand. And that kind of like offset the whole mystery element to it. Like, once the reveal's made that, okay, the whole idea is about uncovering an extra, it kind of falls apart. Because then you're like, you know, there's stuff that's happening, but it's not really explain why it occurs and how. There's no real antagonist. A lot of the stuff just happens. A lot of the deaths just occur.
You know, this kind of reminds me of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Now that I really
now that you,
about
it. yeah. Bodies works because it's comedy, right? And I think Another works better as a comedy than a horror, because what happens is like, okay, the start is great. Okay, I'll give it that. It's got this mystery. It's got these creepy. There's this constant cutaways to these creepy dolls that keep.
I fucking
occurring.
hate dolls. I don't know.
I know.
I hate.
I was pretty like off put by it as well, and I was like, okay, they're definitely gonna.
Something's gonna happen.
Some shit's gonna happen.
I'm gonna have to turn this shit off.
Yeah, I was like, you know, they're gonna build on this because they're like hamming it in, and then they just completely abandon it. They don't. Once May is revealed to be true, and that she hangs around there, which itself is pretty fucking bizarre. Right. I mean, that whole scene where the main character goes into the doll shop, and there's this creepy old lady who's like, "Oh yeah, I work here. Are you here to look at the dolls?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I just want to like check some shit out." And she's like, "Oh, you could never afford it. You're a student, but okay, you can hang out as much as you want." And this dude just keeps walking in like a couple of times and walks in like he owns the place. And he keeps finding and he keeps finding May in the basement. And I was like, this is so weird. Like is she like real, or she lives there, or what's the deal with that?
That's what it keeps making you guess, thinking that she's a ghost girl.
Yeah, and that bit is pretty consistent until the reveal is made that she's not. And that's where they just abandon everything that they've done to build the mystery surrounding May. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, look, Mai Misaki is actually, I think she is a really intriguing character. Like, she intrigues me, like, very fascinating, because quite clearly, like, she stands out compared to everyone. And I just feel like most of the class characters were pretty underwhelming. They were pretty one note. They lacked character development, along with the main character, who comes across as a dud at times. But I feel like Misaki, like there's... Oh yeah, he's totally responsible. He doesn't even care once the deaths happen. He's just, he's moving on with his life like it's just another day. But like, Misaki has this past where she had a twin sister who dies, and that bit was just abandoned. It was never really explored, and I felt like that was kind of underwhelming, because I felt like they put her character on standby once the reveal was made, and then she's just pretty much not utilized until like the very end, where she uses her doll eye, and that whole doll eye could have been used. Yeah, and even her doll eye could have been used way earlier. Look, I mean, I get that they didn't know they had to kill the dead person, but at least she could have figured it out.
Oh, that would have made this anime silly from the starting.
Well, I think it would have worked better if it was silly from the start.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I just think it
becomes
all up
to get all excited about the mystery and get spooked, and then have it turn into a derailed train.
I mean, it's so incoherent, right? I think like the incoherent writing affects and abandons the tone it sets up in the start. Like, it denies character development, and then the deaths just come across as jarring. Like, once characters start dropping like flies, the show opts for like shock value in the gory deaths, and it kind of completely loses me with like an over reliance on jump scares, which I was not a fan of. But it felt very Final Destination.
I didn't notice the jump scares. I didn't get jump scared.
Oh, you didn't? Well, for me, it wasn't really jumps. It wasn't like I got jump scared, but I just felt like
shock value.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to have.
The opening of the 8th episode, where they're at the beach, where the episode
that whole 8th episode, we can talk about that.
All right. So, a lot of anime during like this era, like in 2010s and the early aughts, there was always a beach episode in your anime. Every episode a beach episode. Even Bleach, even Naruto, all of them had a beach episode. And I knew it was a watermelon at the goddamn start, because why would a head pop like that? And then we get into the beach episode, I'm like, woo woo. And then they do the Final Destination thing with the semi, and then like driving by them, and I was about to do a spit take if they rolled that damn car right there. I'm like, we still got a couple more episodes, but I would have spit that shit all over. And like, the episode didn't really like mean anything until like really the end of it, until somebody died, because they thought if they got out of town that the death, the curse wouldn't affect them.
Yeah, I mean, there's two moments in this anime that really got me laughing my ass off. The first was like, and I'll come to the beach episode. But
Yep.
I got to mention the first instance being there's a scene where like when the entire class is ignoring the main character and Misaki, he just gets like this daydream where he like dances with her in front of everyone.
Yeah. No, that is,
like,
I think that's mean to be funny.
Okay, that's okay. That's intentionally meant to be funny, but I just felt that was so out of place.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
It did not feel like it belonged in what the show was trying to achieve, but it was kind of like out of nowhere. But then you got episode 8, which just feels so inconsistent with the rest of the show. Now that you tell me that animes during that time always had a beach episode, kind of makes sense. But what I found weird about that episode was like, you got this other character called Akazawa, who's just a tsundere, like really closed off, mean character. Like she's like kind of in charge of the safety protocols regarding the class 3. Yeah, and then she suddenly starts warming up to the main character Koichi, and she's trying to like, get close to him, and it's almost like she's trying to hit on him. And May is like, "Oh, I can't come to this beach. I'm going with my parents, but you can call me if there's like a emergency or whatever." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes to the beach, and then she suddenly shows up. Like May just happens to be there, which I was like, that's pretty fucking convenient. And then the entire episode is so like unnecessarily outdated because it's like they're like fishing and playing games and catching octopuses, and there's like fan service, which is so
that's
unnecessary. Yeah, I get that, but it completely it makes no sense because this is like the 8th episode, right? You're meant to be escalating to the conflict of the series, but no, let's have this sidetrack episode. Okay.
Well, so they have to sell body pillows. They have to sell wall scrolls. They have to sell these awesome $500 action figures.
But then they just conveniently stumble across an ex-student who happens to be a really important character who's meant to give them information about how to stop the calamity.
Yeah,
and
he's an alumni that survived.
He's an alumni who did something, but which he can't quite remember because of the curse. And all he knows is like they visited this shrine and something happened, and that was the only year where nobody died. And the death stopped after that point. And he just shows up out of nowhere, which again is a bit like it's like watching a play, where a character just shows up and you're like, you're supposed to go with it, and then it ends in the most random way with a death, a character getting killed out of nowhere.
But you found out he died that way because he did something before they left town that set the curse into play.
But they only explained that in the next episode that he had he banged his head and he had a blood clot or whatever. But if you watch episode 8 and you're just seeing that happen at the end, where a boat just goes and rams into him or whatever, I'm like, come on, like that's so random as hell. Like there's no. Like the whole
what's random as hell is in a previous episode, the teacher goes nuts with a knife, and I'm surprised that wasn't a moment that you really came out and were like, that was one of the funny scenes where he kills himself in front.
Oh yeah, that was jarring. That was jarring for sure. And I think what's even more absurd is like, if I can pretty much assure you that if there were deaths taking place in any public space, especially a school, the school will probably shut down and not be open. There would be an investigation. There would be media coverage. There would be the police. There'd be the authoritative bodies would be investigating the entire situation, and it would not be just another day. So I just thought that itself was pretty freaking absurd. Because these deaths, they take place, but it just feels like the show doesn't develop the characters. So then it starts to kill them off, and it starts to, increase the deaths and move on from it. But there's just no consequence to it. Each death, like, I couldn't care less. Once, like, they started going all overboard with it, like, I just didn't care
Once the
anymore.
death game started, and the kids got all the information, and they played it over the loudspeaker.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of animes that are like this, but I don't think there was a lot of death anime before this. So after this anime aired, so you have something like Future Diary, which is a straight up death game, which has its own problems, but a lot of that is just silly for the sake of silly, but not meant to be silly. And then you have Gilpnir, you have a Fate Stay Night, you have all these. I think Fate Stay Night was before, but still, you have all these death game animes, and some of them are taken more seriously than others. This one, obviously not, but like the first murder looked like it happened back in April. That's what kind of confused me. I was like, what? Like before you even joined the class, like that crane that hit that girl's brother, I guess, it was like a runaway crane.
well, there's so many random deaths. Like, I've just
Yeah,
lost
I
count.
stopped counting after 3. I was like, oh, this is number 3, the bad heart attack kid. Like I couldn't keep track.
Yeah,
I was like, how many kids are in this class? Are they adding extra kids? Like, I wouldn't put it past them for that. Just
it was, yeah, it was really unmemorable because I think apart from maybe Akazawa, and then there's like 2 other characters who were like from the class. I think they're the only ones who don't get, well, Akazawa gets killed, but the other 2 somehow I think survive. But they're the only ones that consistently have any screen time. So you're expected to think, okay, they may have a bit of a role here, but most of the people in the class just get disposed of.
Right.
I guess like my gripe with it is like a lot of the storytelling is poor from a writing perspective. There's a lot of information and context left unexplained to the viewer, which is frustrating because, there are events, causes of death, backstory information that's simply withheld, making the chain of events feel a bit random, and then it just gets to a point where it feels like a parody. Like, trust me, it works as a comedy. And I was definitely laughing. But the thing is, like, my point is there's a way to keep mystery and withheld information from the viewer. But it seems to me that the anime uses poor writing of leaving things unexplained as an excuse to convenience the plot. And the main character, or us, the audience, already don't know how this key information surrounding the curse revolves and works. And when the main character does find out, the story progresses with characters who just get killed off. And even the tape is destroyed at that point. When they get denied the main climax of how to stop the calamity. So I don't know. I had a lot of issues with the way it was written. I thought that it kind of denied important character development that should have taken place.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that. There's even a moment where the main character Koichi, he gets stabbed, and you're like, oh shit. Well, I don't think he's gonna die because his plot armor is comes in like a truck, and it just kills his assailant. Yeah, you got nothing to worry about, Koichi. You're gonna make it.
Which is funny because he's like probably the most aloof and out of sync character.
Like he's from like a different time. You almost want to think, because of how contrived and like overcomplicated some of the storylines are, that he could be the extra one. You're like thinking like maybe you're like 5 heading it thinking like this show is way smarter than it is because of all this like crazy shit that's happened. You're like,
I think the show thinks that it's way smarter than it is.
Oh yeah,
there's just
definitely
so much bullshit, but in the end, it's comical. You know, even the deaths are comical. There's a pillar that just slams randomly towards the end when a character's running and conveniently kills him. I was laughing I was losing my shit. It's like, but at that point, I was just thinking, like, you know, like, there's no even the deaths are not consistent.
Right.
They feel incredibly contrived, and I couldn't take it seriously anymore.
So you're serious up to episode 3, and then it's just like, all right.
I think if it starts to fall apart from like episode, after, I'd say like the first 3 episodes,
right?
Because the pacing is intentionally suspenseful and slow, which is good because you know you're building up to something, but then it's kind of incoherent. It just starts to fall apart.
With the script doctor and a extra 12 episodes, I definitely think they could have definitely fleshed out those.
Well,
characters.
don't have a filler beach episode that doesn't do much to the plot and just
they don't
randomly
do that
conveniently introduce you to characters that are meant to be pivotal to the story.
It's very rare in the 2020s for a new airing anime to have a beach episode unless it's like swimming related show. They don't do that anymore for a reason.
A very good reason, I'm sure. Because
well, yeah, that's because the only reason why you'd have a beach episode is to sell stuff. You know, you got to show all these young
eye candy
adolescent girls in their swimsuits, and some of them they don't want to wear a swimsuit, and then some octopus comes up and like sucks on them or something weird, or there's all sorts of crazy shit that happens.
I think that's the show trying to do too much with trying to appeal to shonen type crowd, which you know I think it should remain
stay
faithful. Yeah, it should remain authentic and faithful to the overall genre and tone, which is to be a mystery horror. But like I said earlier, it's you know, it's a mystery dressed up as a bad horror that gets
the manga
funnier.
Is more horror. That's what I'm wondering. Not that I'm gonna.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a good question. Yeah,
maybe it was just like a in the animation studio they were trying to like appeal to a wider audience or something. Maybe I don't know. Just spit.
I mean, it's a safe assumption because it does feel incoherent. You know, there's things that take place, and you're just wondering why is this happening,
right?
So I don't know. I mean, I didn't really research the source material. I expect most of these mangas to be faithful adaptations into anime, but
most of them are.
There's
even another an OVA it's her and her sister before the show even airs. I didn't check it out, but I did see that it exists. So I was like,
I read about it. I didn't watch it, but I did read about it. But that I feel is more like it's like a epilogue to story.
Like it's like a prologue, like before.
Prologue, sorry. Epilogue's the end. Prologue's the beginning. But
did you see the mystery coming? That it was actually his aunt the whole time. It wasn't even somebody in the fucking class.
So they tried to pull one under the rug. I felt like what made me weird about the An character was how how inconsistent she came across when she was at home compared to when she was in school. Like, I just felt like before the reveal, I thought they don't feel like the same characters, because she's very specific to him about treating her in a different way when she's in class, and be a bit more professional and it got me thinking. I was like,
I think a lot of that's normal for when you have a family member that's in school.
But there's a very distressing scene in school where he comes up to her, and he's like trying to talk to her, and she just ignores him, which I thought was strange. But apart from that, I didn't really know. But by that point, like, they've already killed off every character there is, so there's little surprise left by then. Because you're thinking, okay, it could be Akazawa, because she keeps hinting that she's met Koichi somewhere before.
Right.
So you're thinking, okay, maybe she could be an extra, 'cause she has memories of her previous self or whatever, like her death. Could be that she's dead because she's remembering shit. But turns out that was not the case. And she just, like, her character turning psycho came out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But there's a lot of characters that go psycho. You could say it's for plot contrivance or because it's the curse. There's a lot of...
there's plot holes. There's plot holes in this show. Like, once the class recognized that ignoring Misaki and Koichi won't work anymore, I feel like the show kind of loses focus, because the final 3 episodes feel a bit rushed to a flat ending. Yeah, like after, like from then onwards, it feels like a lot more rushed, and it gets a bit pastiche at that point.
Ooh, did you use that in a sentence? I've never heard that word before. I'm not being an asshole. I've really never heard that word before.
Oh, all right. Well, it feels like it's kind of like imitating really like it's trying to be another cool horror film.
Got it.
Or horror story, but it feels like an imitation.
Okay.
So maybe that word's a bit too much of a critique word, but
I don't know. Do you read that in your critic guide to review anime? I don't know.
Nah, that's just like typical criticism that comes out when you want to criticize something, and
it's being a little bit, it's smelling its own farts, to put it in layman's terms.
Yeah, it is. What did you? Because like I got a lot of, I suppose I have a lot more negative things to say about it, but. What did you like about it? What was it about the anime which, beyond the first 3 episodes, you felt was good?
I was kind of surprised when watching it, but what I do, because I didn't really remember quite how crazy it went. I remembered the first couple episodes, and I remember it being kind of eerie and spooky, and I was like, oh, maybe this is a good Halloween-ish episode. I don't know. And then
your brain probably decided to delete any memory of the rest of the
it probably completely forgot. But then again, when I watched this, I was pretty young, so like fresh out of high school, I was probably still in my edgelord like brain, like Elfen Lied's a 10 out of 10, and freaking like Higarashi's a 10 out of 10, and like all these like really edgy shows.
I've read a lot of comparisons of this show to Higurashi.
There is a lot.
And a lot of them say that just watch Higurashi instead.
Well, Higurashi.
Now that I think of it,
novel.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of a mystery murder. That's
if I'm
not
like
mistaken.
Clue. It's got arcs. so it's different in every arc. But it's double the amount of episodes, and that one has a better mystery, and it does keep you wondering what's going on. The When everybody starts going crazy, it doesn't really explain that, but it is what it is. It is
Right.
definitely probably a better horror anime to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to subject you through 24 episodes. It was like, ah. And I remember the dub and the original Higurashi is like such like a hard watch because of how like overacted it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. It's like, I was like another spooky.
Yeah. But you were saying, what did you like about it?
Oh, what I
It
liked
was
about it, I
was it
like
was
the
it was it
the
just the memory
music,
you had when you watched
the
it
memory I
the
had.
first
Sure.
time?
I remember when somebody asked me for like a good like horror anime. This is my go-to. And the funny thing is, like, I remember probably those first 3 episodes. That's probably why I recommend this as a horror anime. But then I
Right.
like completely forget that like the edgelord part of me that's probably the real one that recommended it. 'Cause, I like seeing heads flying off and people bleeding to death. And that's just because I'm an edgelord. I'm still 14. It's the same reason why you watch a slasher movie. Why you watch Jason or Freddy carve somebody up.
I
You're
think I
not
think it does have a lot of slasher elements
vibes
in
in
it.
it.
It kind of
Sure.
feels like it tries to distance
Contrived
itself.
story. Doesn't make any
You can
sense.
feel like it's trying to be a mystery slow burn, but at the same
Right.
time, it out of nowhere wants to ramp it up and become
Mhm.
an edgy slasher. Um, and I think the both don't work because
It does two things not as well if it would only
trust
focus
me, I
on one of
mean,
them. Yeah.
at one point I was questioning whether the staff actually thought they were making a horror movie anime or they were taking a piss and making a parody of a horror anime.
Right,
But
right, right, right.
it was more funny than scary though for me.
Okay. I can definitely see that.
But yeah, I just found the main character really underwhelming.
No,
Uh,
there's a lot of anime that are like that. I'll tell you what.
just wasn't into him at all. Didn't really understand his. He just comes across really aloof and
Clueless.
it's clueless. But at first, it's kind of like uh, you know, it's understandable to an extent because
Mhm.
he's not told anything, but then he's
Right.
prodding, and it's causing more disaster.
Hmm.
But
Well,
I
they fucked up
think
with their contrived rules. They did it to
contrived
themselves.
as they did, and it's interesting because there's inconsistencies because there's a when I think it was episode 2 or 3 when May is still not revealed to
When she's
be
not out of the closet.
exactly when she's not out of the closet. There's a scene where he goes in the library and he's talking to May, and the main character is talking to May, and then suddenly the librarian enters into the scene, and he's obviously meant to be an ex alumni student from that same class, but he just like approaches towards them, but he completely ignores May like she doesn't exist, which is again keeping consistent with the idea that she doesn't exist, and he's directly only talking to Koichi. But then in the next scenes, once the reveal's done, he's acknowledging both of them. And the thing is, it doesn't affect him. Like he ignoring her is not going to keep the curse intact from
Right.
happening. It's only the class that needs to ignore her. So there was some stuff like that which
Hmm.
I didn't get what was happening and it felt
Yeah,
inconsistent.
what they initially said was that all the teachers and the school agreed with this plan, I guess. But like you said, it kind of it goes against what it said in the following scene. Like
Yeah,
the
it goes
teacher didn't
against
give a
itself.
fuck.
Yeah. And yeah, because he's openly, he's kind of like that wise old character who's trying
Right.
to keep the kids from not going insane, but he claims that he can't be affected. But yeah, I just felt like he was one of the more like bearable characters, because I did
Right.
not like any of the classroom characters at all. But as a side character.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I remember I liked Misaki. No, that was pretty much about it.
yeah, same. Although again, I just feel like she could have been so much better written
Mm-hmm.
from like the setup, and I just felt like there's so much mystery surrounding her past and surrounding her ability, and I just felt like I understand that she's intentionally emotionless.
Right. She's a
'Cause
doll.
she needs to come across that way, but I just think it's a shame that her character gets sidetracked until the end, and it just deprives rather the audience from seeing major character development take place. But did you know who the guy who killed his aunt?
Yeah.
Who was he, and was that just another random uh guy who just wants to kill people?
I think wasn't she like a part of like a previous curse? Wasn't that what it was?
The aunt.
Yeah, the aunt. I want to say wasn't the aunt a part of a previous curse? Yeah, I can't really remember.
Well, again, there's so many inconsistencies. I can't like. I'll give you another example. I think there's a scene where Mei and Koichi are looking at the class photo of
and she can
of
see him.
no, not she can see him, but like he's basically trying to look for his mother, who basically I think mother died before he was born or something like that.
Mhm.
And just after he was born, it happened when something, I don't know exactly, but it was basically around like he never got to see his mom. But the point was, he's looking at the picture, and before he can even say his mom's name, Misaki's like already knows and calls out her name. Like, how does she know what his mother's name is? I just thought that was again.
Did she have the eye patch off?
No, it was on.
Oh, it was on. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say if
but
she,
she
had the
knew
eye
her
patch
first
off,
name.
You could see the aura of death.
No, she knew the first name,
Okay.
and the mother was alive in that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, but look, I found it interesting. I like the concept. I just feel like they didn't clarify the rules of the curse and the way it operates enough. Like, it was a bit too vague, and it felt convenient.
Oh yeah, now there's a lot of because the plot dictates that this has to happen in this show. I definitely don't think I could argue that's not the case.
Yeah, and it's never explained why it only affects certain years of class 3.
Well, it's because the other ones are just so good at pretending somebody's not real. Those poor kids.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, so there's like a timeline thing, isn't there? Like, it's set in 1998.
Yes.
But Koichi doesn't remember that he was in that town in 1996 which is where those deaths occurred, like where his aunt got killed.
Yep. It's
So
the town
memories
of
are kind of
mystery.
altered.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of unreliable narrator.
Hmm.
Unreliable storyteller.
Yeah, it's
'Cause they keep
unreliable.
changing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's convenient that they don't remember. It's the curse. It's magic,
and it affects even the relatives. So
right? It infects even the
there's a
writers.
lot of like. Well, what did you think of like all the phone calls he had with his father, who kept
Well, I watched the dub,
insisting
and so they were
and
just really
repeating
funny.
it's so hot in India?
I guess it's hot in India. Maybe that was like a comedic
Like
scene or something to like break up the tension. I don't know.
Yeah, every
Maybe
time
it was
he
to
spoke
show that
to-
he's real.
I mean, I could see like they tried to do this thing where they're like, oh, we actually put the clues in where I think there's like and it's done in the most like obvious way to cover up your tracks, where you're like, oh, okay, here's the reveal, and then we'll just show you conveniently flashbacks to stuff that happened earlier so that you can see how clever we were. But in reality, they weren't, because it didn't make sense. But there was a flashback to his father's call saying, how does it feel to be back after a year again? And a year and a half or whatever. And he doesn't realize it, that he was actually there a year and a half ago. And then there's I think there's another scene which I think again, it's just, I don't understand. I can't remember now, but it just felt, again, just convenient storytelling without really writing a proper resolution. Because the ending, it fell flat for me. I didn't expect a happy ending. At least they should have gone all out. Like, if they were gonna go all out with the deaths, they should have gone all out.
Sure, I can definitely see that. I guess if anything, you'd just be happy that it wasn't two guys punching each other, that kind of ending, because there are shows like that.
For a typical shonen where they're like good old school fist fight.
Well, yeah, it'll be like
end
two rivals, and they'll be fighting until the end frame or something like that. And you're just like, whatever. This is stupid.
Honestly, by the end, it wouldn't surprise me. Because once you see a pillar magically fall down at the right time, where the character's trying to escape, and it's like, nope, you're not going anywhere.
Hypothesis. Damien from The Omen is in this anime, and he's just in the background. You just can't see him; he's invisible.
Yeah.
This is why all this is happening. Clearly,
yeah, pretty much. Kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Omniscient, and you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't. But I don't know. I think. What do you think of the ending?
Forgettable.
Yeah. I was kind of rolling my eyes, but yeah, it felt.
Yeah. There's 10 years ago when I watched this, I definitely didn't remember the ending. So yeah, forgettable. I think I watched it like 2 days ago and I still don't remember.
Yeah. Maybe that's the effect of the show. You forget.
You get amnesia after watching the show because the curse is
It's
that
so
powerful.
yeah, it's so incredibly forgettably bland that you forget.
But the only thing you'll remember is the chick with the eye patch, and then just like the cover for the anime. That's all you're gonna remember, because that's all I remembered.
I'll give it that. It's got a pretty cool cover.
Yeah,
but
it's all like red and black and mysterious.
Yeah,
just one word. Another. It's not my teen romantic comedy snafu.
Yeah, it's trying to be like Christopher Nolan. You know, keep it a one word title. Because that's gonna make you seem like intellectually
I think the writing of this anime is on par with Tenet. It didn't make any sense.
Didn't make any sense, but both were entertaining to an extent.
I fell asleep during Tenet.
I just like the action because
Backwards
the
action.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But apart from that, they were incredibly contrived as well. But such a weird comparison to make. Another Tenet. I'm pretty sure no one in the world would have thought of this comparison.
No.
So I guess we got that going for us.
The only podcast on the planet where you'll ever hear Christopher Nolan compared to another.
I think for people who want to get into horror in anime but don't want to take that big first step of just diving straight into something substantially scary, maybe in that instance it could work as a bit of a taster.
Sure.
But
sure. Like baby's first spoopy anime.
Sort of, but
Sure.
even then,
if
still...
you're an edgelord and you're a 14-year-old boy, this is I have an anime for you.
Yeah, maybe if you're a younger, early teen, it will work better. But that, I mean, I can't see myself ever wanting to watch this again.
Well, you'll
just
when
because
it
they're
gets re-released as a brand new anime. You're like, oh,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, they could
finally do this justice.
It does feel dated, though. I'll give it that. It is. It does feel like it's got a lot of catching up to do. When you compare the level of storytelling in anime is incredibly improved since the past 2 decades, and
oh, I agree.
Yeah, it does feel kind of dated in that regard.
Right. Well, do you have any anything else to cover with this delicious garbage?
Delicious garbage. Not really. No, I thought the gore was at least it was good that they had blood and
and you didn't see black bars, just censorship galore.
Yeah.
I guess you definitely can appreciate that. There's when stuff like this is airing and it's airing on like normal broadcast TV in Japan and it's like not on a special network, you will see those beams of light or those black bars, the little censorship where they're saying, hey, you guys need to buy the Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go into ratings?
I am, but before we do, just for the sake of how absurd this anime is, let's just recollect the types of deaths and how absurd they were. So the first one was an umbrella impaling a girl in the neck.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's pretty up there. That's a pretty bold first step to take as a first death. That's the high ceiling right there. Mm-hmm. And then you had what?
The
a heart
elevator.
Attack? Falling elevator. Okay. That was
everybody's nightmare.
Falling elevator. Okay, I got a horror story with an elevator. I was once I can vouch for this because I was once taking a mini fridge from my room and I was transporting it to a friend's below me, a floor below me, and I got into the elevator and I put in the fridge. I pressed the button and then I just realized, oh shit, like I didn't pull the wire in completely and the door shut. So the plug was still on the outside. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, this is it. And the lift tried to go down and the fridge just flung up and smacked the roof. And I was like, oh shit, this is the end. I'm going to get killed in the elevator by a fucking mini fridge. And then I was just like, pressing the buttons and I was losing my shit. I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do if this thing just goes down? It's just gonna crash into me. And then luckily the elevator went up a floor and the doors open and I was like I was on the floor inside, like on my back. Like, what the fuck just happened? And luckily, like, there was someone on the other side and they were like, you're right. And then I just managed to like pull it in. So ever since then, I always have a bit of PTSD with elevator doors and making sure nothing gets stuck in between. So, you know, I would have, if it had to have the death where something like that happened, where they got stuck in, I would probably like been more shit scared and I could have related to that moment. But,
Oh my god! You just revealed a new M. Night story, a new premise.
well, it could be, but it's a pretty wild elevator story. But but in the anime, it just happens because the building's
falls
old
at crazy speed. And then
and they went on a date together as well. So they were kind of playing with the idea that maybe they're. Well, they didn't go on a date, but they had like they had a meetup. So I was like, maybe they're gonna develop that into an arc story. Or whatever. But they just killed her off conveniently. But what was the other crazy deaths?
G's bro had a bad heart, so he had a heart attack because that's convenient.
Heart attack.
And then
the lightning one got me though. That's pretty fucking funny.
The fucking lightning. Teacher goes nuts with the knife. LOL. KS's himself.
Yeah. And the fact that he speaks to the librarian minutes before and he's acting all weird and the librarian's like, oh, that's weird. I should probably do something. Guess not.
Guess not. And then the propeller death.
That's propeller.
Yeah.
All right.
This
boat.
is why you should never eat before going swimming. You're gonna get cramps. Or you're gonna hit your head.
That was jarring as fuck. And then the end was just a clusterfuck, wasn't it? It was just all out.
There was also the runaway crane. A runaway crane that crushes that family member.
Oh yeah, the hill cliff.
Yep, the hill cliff.
Car.
And then then you get the death game. Then you get everybody trying
backdraft.
Yeah, it's literally straight out of what's that popular
Shining?
Japanese death game? Battleground. If you've ever seen
Battleground.
That's a crazy ass movie. Maybe I'll recommend it.
I haven't. All right.
No, that one's shit crazy. Then you have that pillar.
The chandelier got my eyes rolling.
Yeah, you're just like, okay. You don't have a funny story about chandeliers falling or anything, do you?
No. Thankfully not. But the pillar falling was probably the climax for me. That was when I felt like I could
your popcorn
satisfy.
At the screen.
Yeah. That was so funny. I laughed. I laughed out loud. But yeah, and then in the end, he kills the extra and he passes out.
Right.
Off screen. But yeah, it's a riveting mess, to say the least.
Ooh, you could put that on the poster.
That should be the tagline of another riveting mess.
Riveting mess. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be really nice to it. So, would you like to give your rating first?
Want to soften the blow? I mean, what's there to say? I've already said pretty much everything, and I think I've been a bit more critical about it than you. But I kind of get the point you're coming from for this. But for me, I just thought it was just incoherent. It's an incoherent anime that opens up with a really promising mystery that I was in for. And it was aiming to be a horror, but that ultimately it works better as kind of a comedic horror parody, I guess. But there's a lot of questionable narrative choices that cause inconsistencies and plot holes. Now, the poor writing creates characters without depth, and the show loses its shock value with like trying to be jump scary and annoyingly contrived with its deaths. So, and the ending was kind of flat, unfortunately. So, gonna give it a 4 out of 10.
Ooh, scathing. I love it. Adi pulling no punches.
No punches
As a
pulled
comedy,
here, sir.
As a comedy, what do you rate it?
As a comedy, if it had to be like a self-aware comedy, I'd probably give it like a 6. But
Awesome.
but yeah, I'll stick with the 4.
All right, you stick with your 4. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you definitely can believe this. My last rating of this was an 8 out of 10 on Mal when I originally watched it. I was really stupid. But I still love this anime. I like its first 3 episodes. Like, it sets you into this mood. Gets you all really creepy, really eerie. Fucking hate dolls. They creep me out. But
Only for the first 3 episodes. They forget about them then.
Exactly. I'm gonna bring down my score, but I won't go down to a 4. I will give it a 6 out of 10. I couldn't live with myself if I gave it an 8 again after watching everybody die. I think this is a good October anime still. It's definitely a serviceable for its music and its what do you call it, the theme of the spookiness until it gets silly. I will still recommend this anime, especially to brand new anime watchers. There's no reason not to. I think it's a good trend for all the death game animes that were gonna come forward.
Fair. It's just another mess.
You're so smart. All right. Do you have a recommendation for next time?
I do. So, okay. So for the next recommendation, I would want to recommend a horror sci-fi film called The Substance. So I'm not going to give you the traditional synopsis. I'm going to give you something more interesting, which will sell you on The Substance. Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? You, only better in every way. You should try this new product. It's called The Substance. It changed my life. With The Substance, you can generate another you. Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. You just have to share time. 1 week for one week for the other. A perfect balance of 7 days each. Easy, right? If you respect the balance, what could possibly go wrong? So, The Substance, directed by Coralie Fargiat, premiered in the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year and won Best Screenplay, and is currently running in theaters. So we will be there for that episode.
I really hope this is a comedy.
Oh, it's funny. Oh, trust me, it is. This is a horror comedy done right, my friend. Another could take some notes.
If we had a time machine.
If only.
Is that all you had to say about The Substance?
Yeah. I'm not gonna go into detail.
All right, I'll let you give the final word.
All right, we'll see you then for The Substance.